Household food insecurity is a lack of the financial resources to ensure access to food. Food is essential for everyone's health, but for people with diabetes, the consequences of not having access to food are severe. There is evidence which supports associations between household food insecurity and factors that affect glycemic control, such as poor medication adherence, inadequate physical activity, risk of depression, stress, and anxiety, hospital utilization, and diet quality. Optimal glycemic control is the ultimate management goal of a person with diabetes. More than 30% of youth and young adults with type 2 diabetes experience food insecurity. This is much higher than the national average of 10.5%. However, to the best of our knowledge, no studies have examined the association between household food insecurity and glycemic control in youth and young adults with type 2 diabetes. We hypothesize that household food insecurity will be associated with higher HbA1c, worse glycemic control, and a higher odds of experiencing severely low blood sugar, aka hypoglycemia, or severely high blood sugar, aka diabetic ketoacidosis. We conducted a cross-sectional study that included data on 395 youth and young adults with type 2 diabetes participating in the Search for Diabetes in Youth study. The mean age was 25. Participants that were adults and parents of participants that were minors completed the U.S. Household Food Security Survey module. When 3 or more food insecure conditions are confirmed, the household is considered food insecure. HbA1c was measured in a sample of whole blood and analyzed as a continuous variable. Glycemic control was dichotomized into optimal or suboptimal if HbA1c was less than 9 or equal to 9%, and high risk if HbA1c was greater than 9%. Participants completed surveys to indicate experiencing hypoglycemia or diabetic ketoacidosis in the last year. Logistic regression was used for binary outcomes, and linear regression was used for continuous outcomes. In our study of youth and young adults with type 2 diabetes, 34% experienced household food insecurity in the last year. The mean HbA1c of youth and young adults with food insecurity was 9.2%, indicating the average HbA1c was high risk. 54% of those with food insecurity had high risk glycemic control, and 19% reported experiencing hypoglycemia or diabetic ketoacidosis. Only 8% of those from a food secure household reported an acute complication. Although we didn't observe an association between food insecurity and HbA1c or glycemic control, youth and young adults with food insecurity had 2.3 times the odds of experiencing hypoglycemia or diabetic ketoacidosis as those without household food insecurity after adjusting for covariates. So what does this mean? Food insecurity affected more than a third of our sample of youth and young adults with type 2 diabetes, and it was associated with acute diabetes-related complications. This study ultimately supports the American Diabetes Association recommendation to screen people with diabetes for food insecurity so that providers can better tailor their diabetes management plan. Thank you for your time.